All right, welcome to Thanksgiving break edition. This video has been recorded like 7 times because of all the lovely little people interruptions. So let's see how fast we can go and how much I can remember of what I want to tell you before they cut each other's hair again, which has already happened today. Okay, first thing, late work, not accepted. So sorry, too bad, so sad. No late work will be accepted. If you are starting your assignment the day that it is due and something goes wrong, your computer catches fire, the power goes out, you are throwing up, so many things. I can't even list the number of excuses. If any of that happens, I am so very sorry, but the assignments are available very far in advance. You are welcome to work on them in advance. The day that they are due is too late to be telling me that you have this problem. That being said, if you are having a problem several days before and you say, Sister Super, I have been working on this and I don't understand, that's awesome. Tell me. I want to help you. I want to work with you. If you are working on, for example, revising your results section, which many of you will be doing, and you have questions, don't sit in front of your computer screen for hours getting more and more frustrated. Ask me, ask your group members, ask in advance so that we can help you in a timely fashion. The day something is due is not a timely fashion. It is likely that something else will come up. It is likely that I don't have my phone, as many of our assignments are actually due on Saturday. It is crazy town all day long here on Saturday. I am not typically near my phone, and I'm definitely not near my computer where I can help you. Late work is not accepted. If your assignment is due 5 minutes late, that is the same as it being due 5 days late. Late work is not accepted. These deadlines are posted in advance. Please respect the deadlines. If you were in a professional setting like a job, you would not turn something in late and say, I'm so sorry. This happened, I didn't understand. No, you would ask your boss questions. You would turn in whatever you have. Turn in what you have. If your assignment isn't perfect, that is okay. We can work with it. We can revise it, but we cannot do any of that unless you have something submitted. That being said, you have 2 assignments due on Thanksgiving Day. Yes, I know it is ridiculous that you have assignments due on Thanksgiving Day. Yes, I did also push for your assignments to not be due Thanksgiving Day, but they are, which is unfortunate. So tell yourself mentally, they are actually due on Wednesday, which is not Thanksgiving, and we don't have any of that Thanksgiving Day problem. Do not have a bite of turkey or pumpkin pie until these assignments are submitted, please, 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 because you will get a 0, and they are worth a lot of points, and if you miss them, you will most likely fail this class, and then we will get to be buddies again next semester, which will not be pleasant for you. It will not be fun for you. So please, please, please get these assignments turned in before Thanksgiving. Think to yourself, no turkey until it's submitted. Yes, unless you're having ham, in which case no ham. But don't celebrate Thanksgiving until you turn in these assignments. They are due on Wednesday. Tell yourself Wednesday, Wednesday. Awesome. Okay, so if you turned in your results section on time, you have received a score. If you did not turn it in on time, you did not have a score, and you will not receive a score until after this first draft of the experimental report and research poster are due. I am so sorry, but I try and grade all the papers in batches. So this first batch that's submitted on time gets a grade. This other batch, which will receive significant point deductions, will not be graded until later. Also, no late work, if I haven't emphasized it enough, will be accepted. For the results, there were some emergencies that necessitated some leniency. That is over. It's done. It's done. Too much taking advantage of mercy has been going on, so it's done. No late work will be accepted. You will receive a 0, and then I don't even have to grade it. So it's a win-win for both of us. But it's really not. Okay, let's talk about the results section. So I've been through the vast majority of your results sections, and I've seen several things that I want to bring to your attention because the majority of you are going to need to make some major revisions to those results before you submit them as part of your draft experimental report, and then definitely before they are submitted as part of the final. First, you only need to use tables, figures, graphs, any of those things when necessary. This means if you cannot say it in the text effectively, and then you display it. Do not put an entire table that has like all the mean, standard deviations, all of that in. Make the assumption as you are doing this that your mom is reading the research report. I don't know about you, but my mom is not a statistician. If I were to hand her a table and say, oh mom, this is what I did for my class, she would look at me and be like, awesome. So cool. You can have this back. I have no idea what it says. Assume that your reader is like your mom. She doesn't understand if you just give her this table that has all of these numbers in it. But if you were to write it in a sentence and say, the mean of this, the mean is this, basically this means this, she would understand. When you're providing people with all this extra information, it is confusing, just like these videos. It is confusing when you provide people with too much information. Sometimes those charts that come directly from JASP or Qualtrics are confusing. There is just simply too much information in there. I think someone just cut their hair again. No, I'll see you in a little bit. Go see Mikey. We're having a rough morning with hair cutting. Okay, so make sure that you decide which figures are needed. Some of them are needed. Sometimes you'll have a bar graph and it displays the information much more effectively than if you were to say it in the text, because the text would get unwieldy and long and people would lose interest and stop reading. But in a lot of cases, especially when you're reporting that mean standard deviation, even if you use a correlation matrix and you're reporting the Pearson correlation coefficient, sometimes it's easier to just say that in the text. That being said, if you choose to do that, do a quick Google search, how to report APA statistics in the text, and it will show you what you italicize, what actually needs to be included, because that is important to do. Make sure that as you're going through this results section that you answer your research questions. If you need to restate the research question within the results section, that's totally fine. I even recommend that you do that. It is an awesome idea, but you need to make sure that you answer that research question. There are a lot of people that have gone through and they answer like a quarter of the research question and then they stop. That's not going to go. You can have a quarter of the points because you did a quarter of the work. So let's make sure that we fully answer the research question. Remember, the results is the only opportunity you have to introduce new data to answer your research question. So all of the relevant data from your particular study needs to be included in the results section. You're not going to interpret the data. You're not going to say, this means this. You're going to say, for example, 46% of women said this, 50% of men said this, the rest of the people didn't answer. Something to that effect. And then in the discussion section, you're going to take that information and tell me what it means. What is the so what? This is the interpretation. And how does whatever you found relate to previous research with citations? So in that discussion section, you cannot introduce any new information. I've noticed a lot of people have really short results sections and really long discussion sections, and the discussion sections are actually your results section because you've decided to put everything in there that should really be included in the results section. So remember, all new data needs to be introduced in the results section. You cannot introduce any new data in the discussion section. This even refers to new data from the lit review. Remember, you're not pulling in new sources, you're pulling sources from your lit review. That discussion section needs to be cited. You need to tie your findings to previous research. Why do your findings matter? Why do your findings matter within the context of your topic of research? True, your study is not going to be life-changing. It's really not going to impact the larger body of research, but I need you to know where yours fits. And the way that you do that is that you say it in the text and you cite previous research sources. I need to see that you understand that you are part of something larger. Another thing, remember the results section is still a research paper. So you need to use introductory sentences. You need to use transition sentences. Paragraphs need to have one topic. It needs to be well written. It can't be disjointed. You can't just say, in table 1 or see table 1 for information on this topic. No, the tables and figures are meant to supplement what you are saying in this text. It's meant to emphasize it, just like my crazy hand motions. It is meant to emphasize it. You're not just giving me a listing of the tables. This is not an appendix. This is the text of your research paper. So you need to explain a little bit about the table. Then, if you need to include a table, then in parentheses you will say see table 1. And the table 1 needs to be included right below that description. It needs to be included in the text. That being said, you are going to have to decide which tables and figures are most useful, because the 17 that you may have included in your rough draft, it's not going to work because no one's going to look through all those tables. They're just not. So they won't get the full impact of your research. They won't get the full answer to your research question. You need to make this legible. You need to make it concise. but filled with information. And you need to do it in a way that people are drawn in and want to keep reading. If you, like I said, if you just do all these charts and figures, they're going to get overwhelmed and they're not going to know what the answer to your research question is. I am looking at all of my notes. Okay, those were the biggest issues. The other thing is you need to use professional language. I found this, we did this. It's not a story about what you did. You need to just report the findings. For example, the researchers found, the research study showed, things like that. The study showed part that was in the lit review rubric is not in this. So you can say, our study showed, and it will be fine. You will not get points taken off for it, because thank goodness it's not included in this rubric. But please be mindful that you are trying to get people to read. So you want to present this in a way that people will want to read it. Remember, if you're telling people to flip back and forth to different charts and tables because you're not including them in the text, it's unlikely that they're ever going to do that. If you were reading a peer's paper, well, as you're reading your peer's paper this week, if you have a paper that says, see table 1, and you're like, wait, where's table 1? How likely are you going to be to flip to table 1? Probably highly likely to flip to table 1, but when you see it and it says see table 2 and the information isn't explained, how likely are you going to be to flip to table 2? I'd say not, because it's annoying. It is especially annoying if you're doing it on the computer because you're scrolling and then you're trying to find your spot. Remember, your reader is reading it on the computer. Remember, your reader will get frustrated if you keep asking them to flip to the tables, charts, figures, to get the information. The information needs to be explained in the text, supplemented with tables and figures. You may have 700 figures that you want to include because you've created them, but you pick out like your top 3 that are included in the paper themselves, and the rest can be included in the appendix. That way, if you have a reader that is interested in seeing the full breakdown of the data, they can just flip to it when they get to the end of the paper. The way that this assignment was originally set up was the research paper had a 6-page cap. And you can very effectively do this assignment with a 6-page cap. Students were required to include everything they needed to in 6 pages, and then the instructor just stopped reading at 6 pages. You can do that, but you need to be very efficient with those tables that you include. You basically need to go through your entire paper and make sure that every sentence is necessary. This is a really good skill, so I highly recommend that you consider doing this and can strongly consider ignoring the 7 to 10 page limit that is in the new course, because it is likely that you will find yourself in a job someday where your boss is not going to want to read 500 pages, most of which are fluff. So that skill is really useful. This is a great opportunity for you to do that. If you go through and create and condense all of your information together and say, oh, I am at like 8 pages, but I feel that my information is really dense, that I don't have this extra fluff, that's totally fine. Some projects might take longer. If you find yourself wondering what you can cut, I'm happy to help you do that, but you need to take the first stab at it. But remember, the way that that previous assignment was structured was really good because it helped students stay on track. You don't need to include any ancillary information. You need to focus on the big answers to your research question. You need to include only those graphics that are helpful. And when they did that, usually the usually the lit review was 2 pages, the method section was about half a page, the results was 1.5 pages, so we're at 4. The results were 1.5 to 2 pages, and the discussion made up the rest. But remember, there's no fluff, so it's very, very concise. The strengths of the study were this, the weaknesses were this, recommendations for future researchers are this, and here are all my connections in the discussion section. I highly recommend that you go through those steps to do that, especially with this results section. Make sure that you have selected the appropriate tables, charts, figures so that you are supplementing your text. There is nothing wrong with just using text in the results section. You'll notice in a lot of those peer-reviewed journal articles, they don't have any tables, charts, figures. That is what we are modeling. The purpose of this experimental report is to help you model one of those papers. So you can see that they report a lot of their statistics in the text. It is okay if you report a lot of your statistics in the text. It is also okay if you go through and you shorten things. So instead of saying 89% of participants said this, and then 2% said this, and 1% said this, and then going through all the categories, you can say 89 participants said this, 89% of participants said this, the remainder fell into other categories or made other selections, things like that. We need to know what the vast majority of people said. So if your things are split a little more evenly, you have 25% here, 35% there, you know, then you report them. But if you have an overwhelming majority, you don't need to report those 1 to 5% extras because they're interesting, but they're going to create confusion. Okay, I think we've talked enough about the results. Hopefully that information is helpful to you. You have feedback, look at that in Canvas. We're using Canvas now. And let's move on to the peer feedback. You must submit your peer feedback, or you must submit your draft for peer feedback before you have turkey on Thanksgiving. So you are doing a draft of the experimental report. If you turned in all your assignments on time, you have received feedback on the lit review, the methods section, the results, and the discussion. So you just need to take that feedback, edit it, and put your report together. And then the poster is also due, which is basically a visual representation of your experimental report. It does not have to be perfect. It needs to be pretty good. You should probably have complete sentences. The better your report is, and the better your poster is at this point, the better the feedback that you will receive on them, or the more useful, because you don't want someone going through and being like, this is not a sentence. Sentences have subject and verbs, you know, things like that. You want them to give you better, more higher level suggestions. So you must have something submitted, and then you have a week to provide feedback to your peers. We're doing the same format that we did with the lit review. You're going to go through the rubric, then you're going to mark it within the paper itself using the Word review features or the PowerPoint review features. Make sure that you do this. If you are making comments in the rubric, please make sure that you also make comments using those Word and PowerPoint review features. That is useful to people, and they will want to have it, and you will want to do it because you will want to receive points. Remember that a third of this assignment of the points come from you making a submission, and the remaining 2/3 come from the quality of review that you provide to your peers. So even if you feel that your own paper or poster is not where you'd like it to be, make sure that you do well on those reviews so that you can make up for some of those points. If you have any questions this week, let me know. Those are the big things that are coming. We're still working on those personal application assignments. You're still getting scores on those personal application assignments. I'm hoping that very shortly they will no longer be negatively impacting your grade. We will see. But those third checks are coming through soon. Some of you have received second and third checks. It's just not entered because I don't want to keep harming your grade because of how that assignment is factored in. Make sure you go through that checklist with the personal application assignments. You need to have 3 of each category of post, and you want to have all of the posts done. If you're doing any of those job application posts, you want to make sure that you have connected it to your future career goals. You want to make sure you include a sentence or 2 about that so you can receive full credit. Good luck this week. Good luck on the results. Good luck on getting that paper together, and very, very happy Thanksgiving.